Arlington, Virginia. Paul, you are the man to have on the show right now. You have commented that the various agencies of the government are working against each other rather than with each other to solve the problem. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, the bottom line is that, when you look at the FHFA, which is the conservative Fannie and Freddie, his job is to minimize the losses to the GSEs. And one way to minimize the loss of the GSEs is to find if you could get some economics back from the banks because of some of the fraudulent behavior that occurred back in 2004, 2008. It all looks good on paper, but in reality what it does, as you sue these banks, and if you win these lawsuits, which they probably will, you take capital out of the banking system. On top of that, you start to drain the liquidity in the capital system, in the banking system, from doing marginal mortgages. Right now, given what the GSEs is doing with their reps and warrants, it's pushing back regular loans back to the banks. Now these type of lawsuits, the banks in general will tighten their lending standards. By tightening their lending standards, those marginal borrowers are not able to get loans, and that puts a lot of pressure on overall housing prices, pushing it down. Because there's no coordinated policy in Washington, D.C., you get all these different agencies acting independently, not towards pushing liquidity to the system, pushing home prices so they can go up. You have these things working against it, and then you get these lawsuits out today. This lawsuit out today, to me, it's going to have a lot of negative outcome to the industry, but when you really think of it, all the bad players are already gone. We got to get over this issue about having all this revenge to the banking world. What we need is jobs. What we need is the banking system to work, not that we need to keep on extracting capital and equity from the guys who already recapped the banking system. We need to get over it. We need a solidified policy out of Capitol Hill so these agencies like the FHFA doesn't do these type of lawsuits.
All right, is this just sort of a, forgive the expression, a CYA on the part of all these different agencies where they're trying to say, hey, we're not going to let go of this thing?
Well, I think there's a lot of political pressure not to let go of these things. On Main Street, a lot of people would cheer this type of lawsuit. You see the consumer groups coming out and saying, yay, it's screw the banks. But when you do this, you're extracting capital and liquidity from the housing market, which has a major negative. You can't have job growth and keep on making the banking system pay for past sins. Most of the past sins have already been paid for. We need to get over this. Right now, what you're punishing are the companies that already recapped these institutions. Most of these management teams are already gone. They've been fired or let go a long time ago. Moynihan had nothing to do with what B of A is dealing with today. That's a lot to do with Countrywide and Angela Mazzillo. All those guys are out of the system. So why do you keep on coming back to Bank of America and extracting equity? While you're doing this, all you're doing is drying up liquidity in the housing market.
And making it harder to get a loan. All right, so you're laying out and describing very effectively for us what is happening right now, but or try to lay for us a plan as to what should be happening.
Well, the first thing is you need to back off the GSEs, relatively speaking, for reps and warrants and for all these lawsuits. You know what? Let bygones be bygones. Get over it. And what you need to do is let the banks start to originate loans the way they're designed to do it. The GSEs are supposed to provide liquidity to the market, not just all the great